It's been a while, so this is just going to be a video where I explain Firebase login and sign up. So here I have this app that I've been working on, and you can sign up by pressing here, and you can add a profile picture by using your camera. So you can turn around, take a picture, use that, and add a username, an email, and the password. This can be whatever, and then you can create the account. So it'll take a little bit to sign up and create the user and put it in Firebase. And so we have been logged in. This is just an error. You can unpause that, and yeah, here it'll get the username, it'll get the profile picture that will be displayed here. And yeah, so the whole purpose of the app is really just to create teams and stuff. So that's not what I'll be focusing on right now. I'll be focusing on how to create the user, how to log them up, and how to add them to Firebase, more importantly. So the user gets added to the authentication aspect of Firebase here whenever it finishes loading. Yeah, so there the user's image gets added to the Firebase Storage. The user gets stored in Cloud Firestore whenever that's done loading. Yeah, so the user gets added up here, and they get added into the authentication. So yeah, it's gonna be here. Just taking a bit of time to load there. So yeah, let's work on that. So first things first, you want to set up your Firebase. So I have another video on that you can go ahead and watch. And to set up the authentication, you won't be seeing this. You'll be seeing a list of sign-in methods. And for the method I'm doing, you can choose whatever you want, but I am choosing email and password. So I've chosen email and password over here. Cool. And for Firestore, you just want to change the rules. Now this is something, if you're gonna put your app into production, this is something you might want to change, because right now I have my rules defined as public, so I can add users easily without any security bypass or anything. So that's that. But this will get more complex if you're putting your app up for production. And in Firebase Storage, I believe you also need to change your rules as well to make it public again. Wait, no, you don't need to change your rules for Firebase Storage. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now, firstly, I'm not gonna go over the UI very much. I'm just gonna go over the functionality aspect of this. So first, I created a file called auth.dart. Now, I don't know why that's there. Now, the first thing that I do is I create an instance of Firebase Auth, and I store it as the variable called auth. Now, when you go to the home screen, you probably want to get the user so you can display their information, like their username and stuff, or so you can get their ID and access their information in Firestore. So that's the first method I've done here. A future of users, a future that takes in the type of a user. I named it getCurrentUser. It's an asynchronous function because getting this will take some time. And yeah, so we do that and we return it because this is a future of a user, so we return that. Now, how do we actually create the user and how do we sign them up? So I created a future void create user with email password. Now this has to take in 4 parameters. This needs to take the email, password, image URL, and username, for at least how I'm doing it. You can use Google Sign-In, which makes things much easier, but I just felt like explaining logging in with email and password. This is asynchronous again. So first you create a user credential, a variable called user credential here. And it's gonna be, it's gonna await auth, which is the instance we created up there, auth.create user with email and password, and you just want to pass in the information there. So that creates a user with the email and password and only adds it to this authentication aspect. Now, we want more data than that, of course, because if, let's say, you're creating a books catalog app, inside this user collection, you want the user document, you want to have their information there with their email, their image, and their password and their username. And inside that, you would also want a collection of books, and then like so and so. So for that, that's why I'm creating a user info map, and I'm storing this stuff. I'm adding the email password along with the username and image URL to Cloud Firestore. So if user credential is not equal to null, that means if we're receiving some data, we're going to do a database methods.add user info to DB. And what is database methods? So that's again a custom class I created. So class database methods is a future. First method is add user info to DB, and then there's a get user from DB. So it takes a string user ID because if we look at our structure here, we have a collection of users, then we have their document ID, their ID here, and then we have this data. So it needs to take in the ID because that's what that is. It needs to take the ID and the user info map, which is what gets added here. So we return Firebase Firestore.instance.collection.doc.set user info map, and we also have a get user from database. So we just get all of this stuff here, and that's a future of type document snapshot called get user from DB. This also needs the user ID. It's an asynchronous function. Actually, it doesn't need to be one because you're not really awaiting anything here. So return Firebase Firestore.instance.collection users.doc user ID, again because we want to get that, and doc get, because this returns a future of document snapshots. Okay, cool. Let's go back to auth.r. So that is the create user with email password. Login with email and password is fairly straightforward. Again, this takes in the email and password because that's literally what it is. Needs to be asynchronous again because you're going to await auth.signin with email and password, email, password. And logout. Logout is simply just auth.signout. It's relatively simple. Now, how would we do the image URL stuff? Because I've covered the entire backend. How would we cover the image URL? So firstly, you need a package called image picker. If I can find PubSpec on YAML there. Yeah, you need image picker over here. And what I did, firstly, you want to create an instance of the image picker in your class wherever you're logging in, and ignore the single ticker provider state mixin. That's just for the fancy animation that happens when you open the sign up page. And you want an X file called the photo. Now, firstly, you want to pick the image, right? So you do void pick image, asynchronous. Now the photo is going to be await because you have to wait to pick this image. Await picker.pick image, image source dot camera, image quality 25. This is so I can save some space in Firebase Storage. Now you can alternate between the gallery and the camera. You know, you could create a row with buttons that can select dynamic types of image sources. You could do that if you want, but I'm just gonna make it a fixed type of camera. So now when we go down here, we have this gesture detector with an avatar glow. You don't need to know all the fancy UI stuff. Just know that I have a simple circle avatar. I have a simple circle avatar with a background image. So if the photo, the X file photo, is not equal to null, then we're going to put in the file image in file photo.path. It's just going to get the path of wherever that file is saved. Otherwise, it's going to be nothing. And the child is going to be, if photo is equal to null, it's just going to be an icon.person, because we don't want the user just staring at empty space without knowing that there's something there. So that's that. Now, when we press that, you want to pick image. So that just does that. Now, if I go down to where okay, so after this we have a form. So this entire column is wrapped in a form. So what a form does is that it makes it easier for you to validate things when you press the, when you press a button. For example, if I have a screen where there are 3, this is not a form, this is just normal text fields, then every time, like a password, if I want to check if a password has more than 6 characters or something, every time the button is pressed, I'll have to run a check saying if password.length is greater than or equal to 6, then, do whatever you want, continue. Else show a snack bar or give some sort of UI visual information to the user. In this case, when we press create account, it gives you an alert, and all 3 of them at once, and I didn't have to do anything. So how does this happen? Firstly, you want to create a final form key, global key form state, up there in your in the top of your class. Then wrap the column or whatever layout widget you're using in a form and set its key to form key. Now what's all this about? So this ties in directly with the text form field. This is not a text field, this is a text form field. What separates a text form field and a text field is that a text form field has a validator. So every single time the button is pressed, if you run formKey.validate, this is the validator function in the text field. This function will run and it will check. And you just need to return a string of what message to show. So here is the username. So I have a regex of of special characters, and we say the validator takes in a string inside. It takes a string. If v.contains valid characters equals false, if v contains valid characters equals false. So if it doesn't contain any valid character, we say no special characters. Else if v.length and if v. is empty. And here where we say if v is not equal to null, we set the username to v. For the email has a more complex regex. You can get this from anywhere on the internet, but it's a decently long regex. So here we say if email regex.has match string equals false. So the string is just the parameter I put in as the validator. Then we say enter a valid email, and then we say if string.is empty, we just return a value, enter a value. This is the message that you're going to return. So here I haven't put anything, and it's saying I return enter a valid email, so that's the message it shows down there. And then I just do an on change the v is not empty, email equals v. So that's really the entire pattern for all the text fields I have here. In the button, so the on tap of this button, so it's an asynchronous on tap function. So if formKey.currentState.validate equals true, this means if all the aspects of the validator function have been passed, like the email is a valid email or the password is more than 6 characters, then this is going to run. So firstly, it's going to set is loading to true. You don't need to know the UI. I believe you can find whatever UI you'd like. So first, we're going to upload the PFP. So now what do we do when we upload the PFP? So I've created a function called future void upload PFP. It's asynchronous. So what we're going to do is we're going to say file upload file equals file photo.path. If you're wondering what the exclamation mark is, it's just null safety in a Dart in Flutter. So we create a variable called upload file, which is going to be the photo.path. which is essentially what the X file we set here. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna try a try and catch. So we're gonna try to upload this to Firebase Storage. Try await Firebase Storage. Now what you need to do for this to happen is you import Firebase Storage, Firebase Storage or dart as Firebase Storage, and here you just refer to that .instance .ref uploads upload file .path. Upload file is this. .put file, upload file is not equal to null. Then we're going to say upload file equals assets/fallback.png, which is essentially just an image I have up here. If I can find that. Assets, yeah, I have a fallback.png, which is essentially just I scrapped this up in Adobe XD. Yeah, so there we go. That's essentially the uploading of the file. Now let's go back down to that. Yeah, then we're gonna get the download value. So what happens is when you upload something to a Firebase storage, it isn't automatically linked with the user you're uploading, right? So you need to get the download URL and associate that with the user. So what does this function look like? This is a future string because you're returning the get download URL, which is a string. I call this get download. So again, you need the uploaded file. Then we're going to return Firebase Storage.FirebaseStorage.instance.ref. So we're going to refer to uploaded file.path, which is what we've put up here. And you need to ensure that this is the same. This is the same. Yeah, and then we're going to just say get download URL. Let's go back down. Yeah. So after that, we're going to try and catch again. So we're going to try await authent.create user with email and password. That is the function that we created before with the email, the password, and then if the value is not equal to null, then the value will be that. And then we want the username. So let's just see what that is. Yeah. So the username. And this is just the get download URL thing that I've put up here. And after that, we're going to say is loading is false because we've added everything and we've put the user. And we're going to push replacement to the home page. Push replacement is when you cannot go back to the screen you were previously in. There we go. And on Firebaseexception.catch, this is where we can get Firebase related, Firebase specific errors. So if e.code is equal to weak password, then we're just going to show a snack bar. And then if the email is already in use, we're going to show a snack bar with all of that. So that is simply what I have done to sign the user up. Let's see the login. The login is also relatively simple. It uses the same concepts of using a form, using the keys and form keys and validators and all of that. And when we press the button, we're going to check if it's valid. If it's valid, then we're going to again await authent.login email and password, and then we're just going to move there. And then the same thing, Firebase exception, except the codes are a bit different. User not found, because when you sign up, you're not going to be searching for a user, you're going to be creating one. So user not found, that's one exception, and the wrong password. So that is what I have done to implement login and sign up for this app that I have created. And in the future, I'll probably go over everything else that I'm working on right now, maybe in a few episodes time. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you again soon.